Kyle Richards stands at the intersection of heartbreak and resilience. The moment arrived for the beloved reality star, after her husband, Mauricio Umansky, faced a devastating personal ordeal that sent shockwaves through Beverly Hills and across the world of Bravo fans. Allow me to share their story with you. Mauricio Umansky and Kyle Richards. For over 2 decades, this couple embodied strength, family values, and the glamour of Los Angeles love. To the public, they were perfection, a power duo blending luxury, laughter, and loyalty into one seamless narrative. Their story was always viewed as a modern fairy tale. Kyle, the radiant Beverly Hills housewife with Hollywood roots. Mauricio, the charismatic real estate mogul who built the agency from scratch. Together, they raised 4 daughters, balancing red carpets, open houses, and the unpredictable chaos of fame and family. But beneath every fairy tale, there's always something fragile, a whisper that even the strongest love can be tested in ways no one ever anticipates. Because one night, Kyle would learn that no amount of success, no amount of status or security could protect a heart from breaking in silence. It began subtly, a change in routine, a distance that couldn't be named, a silence that spoke louder than words. Mauricio was exhausted, emotionally, mentally, and though he smiled for the cameras, something deeper was unraveling. At first, Kyle dismissed it as work stress, the natural toll of running a luxury empire and filming reality television. But sometimes cracks appear long before they shatter completely. And then it happened. The headlines, the rumors, the whispers that Mauricio and Kyle, the golden couple of Beverly Hills, were taking time apart. It was as if the world had collectively gasped. The love story that once symbolized stability in chaos had suddenly become a mirror of heartbreak. In the quiet of her Encino home, Kyle sat alone. The cameras were gone, the laughter replaced by the hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the clock. Every memory, their wedding in 1996, the births of their daughters, the milestones, the vacations, flashed through her mind like film reels she couldn't turn off. Fans flooded social media with messages of support and disbelief. Say it isn't true. Love isn't real if Kyle and Mauricio can't make it. But that's the thing about real love. It's not about perfection. It's about endurance. Kyle didn't just lose a husband. She lost her rhythm, her sense of place in the world. The man who had once finished her sentences now lived in a separate reality. And yet, even in that heartbreak, there was strength. Kyle clung to her faith, to her daughters, to the little rituals that reminded her who she was before fame, before cameras, before the diamonds and drama. She'd walk through her backyard at sunset, the California sky glowing pink and gold, and whisper small prayers of gratitude for what was, and for what still could be. Then came the moment that changed everything again. A conversation that was quiet, raw, and painfully human. Mauricio called her one night, his voice low, his tone carrying both regret and recognition. He said, "I never stopped loving you. I just stopped knowing how to show it." Those words broke her and healed her at the same time. The world expected a reality show reconciliation, but what happened instead was something more authentic. An acknowledgement that 2 people who once built a life together were learning to rebuild themselves, apart yet connected. Mauricio began to reflect publicly on what went wrong, how fame, pressure, and the endless need to perform had left him spiritually drained. He threw himself into work, into self-discovery, into finding meaning beyond the deal and the show. And Kyle, she transformed her pain into purpose. She leaned into her sobriety, her friendships, her health, and the unspoken bond that kept her daughters grounded. Through therapy, tears, and time, they both began to understand that love doesn't always end. Sometimes it simply changes form. The couple that once symbolized glamour and laughter now stood as symbols of resilience. To the world, it looked like the end of a chapter. But to Kyle and Mauricio, it was the start of a new one, a chapter written in truth, not performance. For months, the Bravo universe dissected every detail. Were they back together? Were they dating other people? Was this just another Housewives storyline? But the truth, as always, was more complicated and more human. In moments off camera, they shared quiet dinners, talked about their daughter's dreams, and even laughed about old times. They were no longer the couple who needed to prove perfection. They were two souls trying to redefine peace. Kyle once said in an interview, "Marriage doesn't fail because of one mistake. It fails when two people stop seeing the beauty in each other." That quote hit millions because it wasn't just about them. It was about us, the viewers, the fans, the dreamers who root for love, even when it feels impossible. Months later, when Kyle appeared on camera again, there was a quiet strength about her. She smiled differently, a little softer, a little sadder, but undeniably real. Gone was the woman chasing approval. In her place stood someone who had learned the value of authenticity. Mauricio, too, evolved. He spoke openly about his struggles with mental exhaustion, the identity crisis that can come with constant performance. He talked about gratitude, about slowing down, about remembering what truly matters. And through it all, a strange peace emerged, the peace of knowing that love in all its forms is never wasted. Looking back, their story mirrors the same lesson from that old script. The idea that true resilience is not forged in comfort, but in chaos. Kyle and Mauricio's journey is not about betrayal or endings. It's about reinvention, about how two people can honor their history without being trapped by it. They once eloped quietly, far from cameras, believing love was enough. And in many ways, it was. But time changes everything. Children grow. Fame intensifies. Expectations rise. The real test of love is not the wedding day. It's the days after, the ones that demand patience, grace, and forgiveness. When they married in 1996, they were just two dreamers trying to build a family. They didn't know their relationship would one day become a national conversation. They didn't know that their private pain would one day play out on public screens. But that's the paradox of fame. You live your truth out loud and hope the world still believes in it. Through it all, Mauricio and Kyle's love remains a touchstone, not for perfection, but for perseverance. They face loss, not just of each other, but of their beloved dog, Chloe, of friends, and of the easy innocence they once had. They faced betrayal, not necessarily of love, but of expectation. They faced fear that maybe one day their daughters will look back and only remember the pain. But they've also faced grace, the grace of forgiveness, the grace of new beginnings, the grace of understanding that endings don't erase the love that built them. In her quieter moments, Kyle often shares how she's found peace in the little things again, the sound of her daughter's laughter, the comfort of her horses, the quiet of mornings in Beverly Hills. And Mauricio, though his path has diverged, often says that what matters most is showing up with honesty even when it hurts. Their story isn't a tragedy. It's a testament. A reminder that life, like reality television, is unscripted, and that sometimes the most beautiful endings are simply new beginnings in disguise. To the audience watching, their lives might seem like scenes from a show. But to those who listen closely, it's something deeper. It's the sound of two people choosing peace over pride, healing over headlines, and authenticity over illusion. Kyle once said, "The strongest women are the ones who can rebuild with nothing but faith and love." And Mauricio added, "Sometimes you have to lose everything to rediscover what was real all along." That's what makes their story timeless. Because no matter the fame, the fortune, or the fanfare, what remains is the simple, universal truth that love, in its purest form, never truly leaves us. It just changes shape. And in that transformation, we find the courage to begin again. Outro, soft piano music plays. The story of Mauricio Umansky and Kyle Richards is not one of loss, but of evolution. A story that reminds us that even under the bright lights of Beverly Hills, the heart beats the same, as it does in all of us, quietly, bravely, and always in search of home. In the months that followed, life began to settle into a new rhythm. Mauricio was seen smiling again, attending his daughter's milestones, hosting charity galas, and focusing on personal growth rather than public image. Kyle, meanwhile, found her strength not in the noise of Beverly Hills, but in the quiet moments, early morning hikes, meaningful conversations, and the realization that healing isn't about forgetting, it's about forgiving.